So I am coming to you from my car again. Hang on, let me switch the way I'm holding this. Woo! Definitely not on the steering wheel. 29 weeks today. Yes. 29 weeks, and gosh, there's a lot going on, really. And I've gone back and forth of do I share it because I don't know if we're at the stress out about it point yet, or do I keep it private until I know? And I think I'm just gonna share it because maybe one of you out there has had something similar happen, and maybe you could share some information with me. I have done my own, before I get into it, I have looked and looked and looked. I've looked on YouTube. I've looked for, there's mainly blogs about it, and that's awesome because I can read it. But there's not a lot of conversational information about it, if that makes any sense at all. So I had a midwife appointment on Thursday. My fundal height is measuring 30 weeks. Yeah, 30 weeks, which is fine. It's, at the time, it was just 3 days ago. So, a week and whatever. It's nothing. A little bit ahead. He is head down. We have no problem with babies being head down. We just like posterior babies, apparently. And I can always tell when he's posterior because it feels, I get 4 limbs instead of just, 2. Because he would be looking sideways as opposed to face up, all 4 limbs kicking at me. Imagine if a baby was laying on the floor on his back, hands and feet in the air. And that's what it's like. You get all that movement. So, he's posterior a lot of the time. So, blood pressure's great. Everything with me physically is fine. This is why I should make videos weekly. That way, I remember what I've said and what I haven't said, or who I've told things and what I haven't, but nobody watches them, so I hate to bombard y'all's news feed with stuff. So I'll just repeat for those who don't know. At 20 weeks, we went to our anatomy scan, and everything was perfect with baby, except for there was an enlarged ventricle. And I'm going to butcher the name of these words that I'm getting ready to use, so bear with me. And it was, the exact measurement was 0.7, and it had fluid. And that's all they told me. The baby's got a little fluid on its brain, but it can be no big deal, and we'll just check it again in 5-6 weeks. Okay, so I go back, and it's still there. I don't remember the original measurement. Anyways, it was still there. It had increased just a little. So we decided, my midwife, the hospital midwife, decided that I needed to go see a perinatologist. And the fluid that they're referring to, they don't tell you all these things because it can sound scary. But in my digging for my own information so that I know how to be an advocate for myself and my baby, it's actually called CSF fluid, and it's what it is. It's cerebral spinal fluid. I'm pretty sure. Don't take my word for it. I will do your own research. But it's CSF fluid, and it's not draining. So, and sometimes that's normal. Sometimes there's an abnormal, amount that's larger, and it's fine. So many people, sonograms are only 25, 30 years old, and they're just now, babies could have been born with just a little bit of fluid on their brain for years and years and years and years and years. So, with that said, we went to the perinatologist, and we had 2 people look, and it was a 45-minute ultrasound. The sonographer looked and took pictures. She was more the fun one because she she can't really tell me different things. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. Yes, I know why I'm here, looking for fluid on the brain, whatever. But she mainly just took measurements for the doctor. Well, the doctor came in and, you know, she found her own measurements and she explained everything to me, like, in detail. You know, we don't want the pocket of fluid to be more than 1.0, and he's at 0.98. And, so we do need you to come back in 4 weeks and have a look again, because it's obviously increasing. It's slowly but surely, it's increasing. So, but she was like, it still could be fine. It's still within the range of normal. Yes, it's on the higher end of normal, but we, you know, just need to keep an eye on it. The problem is, and what they're looking for that I didn't really look into or really question much, because I just didn't want to deal with it. There's nothing I can do with it. But the longer this goes on and the more I keep having to go back, I'm like, what are you looking for? What are we trying to prevent? What is going on here? So if there's too much fluid on the brain, then that can cause brain damage, because the fluid takes over the space where the brain naturally grows and it pushes it outwards. So the head gets larger and the brain, I mean, you know, gets to where it can't grow and mature and do what it's supposed to do, because all this fluid is accumulating on the brain. So obviously it's dangerous. Well, when it gets above a certain level, 1.5, it's called hydrocephalus. That's a scary word, especially because most of the time anybody you hear that has hydrocephalus, it's fatal, it's terminal, it doesn't have a good outcome, especially if it's a really severe case of hydrocephalus. Lucky for us, this is not hydrocephalus yet. It's not even an enlarged ventricle, and the word for it is ventriculotomy or something, ventriculotomy, I don't know. The pronunciation's kind of crazy. It's a really huge word. But it is not even considered that until it gets to 1.0 to 1.5. So we're really close. But right now, as of the last sonogram, we are still in the safe zone of everything's going to be okay. But that's what they're looking for ultimately. So what does that mean for me? Nothing for me. I just keep going and doing, you know, the checks, and that's all we can do. What it will mean for baby is, if it continues to grow, I will have to give birth in a hospital with a level 3 NICU. If it continues to grow beyond 1.5, I may not even be able to deliver vaginally, because when you give birth vaginally, it puts pressure on the baby's skull, which, if there's already a lot of pressure on the baby's skull from the fluid on his brain, then that can, of course, do more damage. So a lot of these things are, like, still way off in the future, yet, you know, I mean, it's just nice to know that this is what we're looking at. I mean, so it doesn't mean any of this is going to happen. It just means that if it does continue to increase, that's what we're looking at. So as of today, I'm still under care with my home birth midwives. I still am mentally preparing for a home birth. I still am hopeful that, you know, that maybe it won't continue to increase. However, the planner in me likes to know what I'm up against and what the other options are if it does continue to increase. So that's what we're looking at. It's a little, you know, overwhelming to think about if I let myself think about it too much, but I try to just keep it all in perspective. And I mean, we really just have to wait and see, and that's kind of the name of the game. So that's where we're at. If anybody has any past history or advice on this, I'd love to hear it. Anyhow, I will update you guys after the next sonogram on March 20th. Talk to y'all later. Bye.